Welcome back to History of Simple Things. Today's topic comes from one of our viewers, Sasuser MC3075. Thanks for the suggestion. You asked, can sharks really smell blood from a mile away? It's one of those facts almost everyone has heard. Movies, television shows, and even casual conversations often make sharks sound like unstoppable hunters that can detect a single drop of blood from incredible distances. But where did that idea come from? And is there any real science behind it? The truth is more fascinating than the myth, and understanding it reveals just how specialized these ancient predators really are. Let's take a closer look, right here, on History of Simple Things. Sharks have existed for more than 400 million years, making them older than dinosaurs, flowering plants, and even many of the animals we recognize today. During that enormous span of time, they evolved in oceans where visibility is often poor. Murky water, nighttime hunting, and deep-sea environments meant that relying only on eyesight was never enough. Instead, sharks developed an impressive combination of senses that work together. Their hearing detects low-frequency vibrations, their lateral line senses tiny movements in the water, and specialized organs called the ampullae of Lorenzini can detect weak electrical fields produced by living animals. Smell is only one piece of this sensory toolkit, but it became the one that captured the public imagination because it seems almost supernatural. The idea that sharks can smell blood from a mile away has been repeated for decades in documentaries, news stories, and especially movies. It paints a dramatic picture of a predator instantly locking onto a distant swimmer after the smallest cut. Part of the myth comes from real scientific observation showing that sharks possess an extraordinary sense of smell. Their nostrils, called nares, are used only for detecting odors and are completely separate from breathing. Water continuously flows through these openings, allowing odor molecules to reach folds of highly sensitive tissue. Compared to many other fish, sharks dedicate a surprisingly large portion of their brain to processing smells. That scientific fact is true, but it doesn't automatically mean they can detect every trace of blood from impossible distances. The ocean itself is one reason the myth becomes complicated. Unlike the air around us, seawater is constantly moving. Currents, waves, tides, temperature changes, and underwater obstacles mix and spread dissolved substances in unpredictable ways. If blood enters the water, it doesn't travel in a perfectly straight line toward a shark. Instead, it becomes diluted almost immediately, creating an uneven scent trail that twists and breaks apart. Even if a shark is capable of detecting extremely low concentrations of certain chemicals, that doesn't guarantee the scent reaches it from a specific distance. Sometimes a shark only a few hundred feet away might never encounter the odor, while another farther away could cross the drifting scent plume purely because of changing currents. Researchers have tested shark smell in controlled experiments, and the results are impressive without supporting the popular myth. Some shark species can detect certain amino acids, the chemical building blocks released by injured fish and other prey, at concentrations as low as 1 part per 10 billion under laboratory conditions. That level of sensitivity is remarkable, but it applies to specific dissolved compounds rather than simply blood. More importantly, laboratory measurements don't translate into fixed distances in the open ocean. Scientists cannot honestly say a shark will always smell blood from 1 mile away because there are too many environmental variables involved. The famous one drop of blood in an Olympic swimming pool comparison is also an exaggeration that lacks solid scientific evidence. Another detail often overlooked is that blood alone isn't what usually attracts sharks. Sharks naturally hunt animals they have evolved to eat, and they respond most strongly to the complete mixture of chemical signals released by struggling prey. Fish mucus, body fluids, natural oils, and erratic movement often create a much stronger attraction than blood by itself. In fact, many shark species show little interest in human blood compared with the scent of fish or marine mammals. Human beings are not a preferred food source for sharks, and most bites occur because of mistaken identity, curiosity, or defensive behavior rather than deliberate hunting. A small cut while swimming doesn't automatically trigger a feeding frenzy, despite what popular culture suggests. Scientists studying shark behavior have also discovered that smell is rarely used alone. Once a shark detects an interesting scent, it doesn't immediately charge toward its source. Instead, it begins searching by swimming back and forth through the water to locate the strongest part of the scent trail. As it gets closer, its other senses gradually take over. Vibrations help confirm movement, vision becomes more useful in clearer water, and the shark's electrical sensors can detect the tiny electrical signals produced by muscles and nerves in nearby animals. This layered approach makes sharks highly effective predators, but it also shows that smelling blood is just the beginning of a much more complex process rather than a magical tracking ability. Sharks possess one of the most sensitive senses of smell in the animal kingdom, and they can detect incredibly small amounts of certain chemicals released by prey. However, the famous mile-away claim isn't supported by science because scent travels differently depending on currents, water conditions, and the type of chemicals involved. The real story is actually more impressive than the myth. Sharks aren't unstoppable blood detectors. They're animals equipped with multiple highly refined senses that have been shaped by hundreds of millions of years of evolution. Understanding how those senses truly work replaces fear with appreciation and reminds us that nature is often more sophisticated than the legends we create around it. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.